Hello and welcome. I'm your host Elizibar, and this is a weird thing to, air quotes, review on its own, in isolation from the rest of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like, this is a very classic story. It's a very DC kind of story, and this is what was this? Issue 8 out of the miniseries. Let me look. Yeah, issue 8, reprinted. Now, it's kind of weird to have this reprinted because I don't think this really stands on its own. Like, if you haven't read the previous issues, you have no context for what's going on in here. And there's just no way at all you can kind of catch up. It's been a long time since I've like flipped through my Crisis book. It it's over there on the shelf somewhere, and so I'm kind of coming into this with only like vague recollection of what's going on. The stuff that's in here is all really good. There's just some crazy great looking art. In fact, crazy great looking art is just all over this book. And if you remember the plot to what's going on here, the Anti-Monitor is going to destroy the universe. And so all the power players are hanging out waiting for that to happen. I remember once I was doing a little chat show thing, podcast, whatever you want to call it, with Larry King. Not not that Larry King. I'm talking the comic creator Larry King, the one who like Neon Trash, those books, which I really like. You should go check those out. As I recall, he has like 5 copies of his magazine-sized Neon Trash left. So go look him up on Twitter. Larry King Undead, I think is his handle. Anyway, he was telling me that Infinity Gauntlet was felt like a DC story, and having recently, you know, or since then, having reread Crisis, I get it. I understand what he's saying. This is a very DC kind of story. Also, Blue Devil looks really goofy down there, just really goofy. In fact, one of the things that was kind of funny reading this is just like I'm looking around and it's like I don't recognize half of these costumes. Some, they don't change very much over the years. Let me like Firestorm, but I had no idea who she was. Uh, it's weird stuff. So the Anti-Monitor's making this giant weapon. They got the Flash in prison. The Flash basically beats Psycho Pirate into helping him, and they start a revolt among the bad guys' followers. Boom. And the Flash does that thing where he runs really, really fast. What happens from there, I'll leave to your imagination. But looking at this, I'm trying to figure out why this was reprinted. A lot of times with reprints, especially like the dollar comics, you can kind of understand why things are being reprinted. In fact, let me get some of this stuff out here. Like this comic, the Birds of Prey movie is getting ready to come out, right? Like it's imminent. It is soon. All these Star Wars books, they're getting ready to put a Star Wars movie out. That's not a Star Wars book. That's a Star Wars book. So it makes perfect sense that these things would be reprinted because you can get some cheap and easy sales this way, and you can maybe, you're getting people to pay for your own advertisement. I think they're getting ready to redo the Valley of the Worms story in a new miniseries or something, so it makes sense to publish this. I'm not sure why this is being published, because the only thing going on right now for that relates to this for DC is the TV show. Flash and Supergirl are having that crossover, right? So why are you publishing a $3.99 premium kind of reprint? Like, why isn't this a dollar comic so that people are paying? In fact, I've got over my DC boxes somewhere. I've got the DC dollar Crisis #1 sitting in it. So I'm not quite sure why this one was published when it was, and that to me that question is the one that is more interesting than actually the contents of the book because I think everybody that's read comic books has read this. So who is this aimed at? Who really is it aimed at? They're starting to put out too many of these reprint books. Like it was kind of cool, like when they did Fantastic Four #1. That was like a year ago or something. Like that was kind of cool, seeing that. Some of the other reprints that have all the old ads and stuff, it's kind of cool seeing that. But usually they pick like a milestone #1 or something that they know everybody is gonna think, oh, that's so cool. Like you could do like this kind of reprint for like the first appearance of Wolverine, first appearance of Deadpool, anything like that, and people will just like eat it up. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's so cool," and it's cool because it's the first. The only thing notable about this is what happens to Flash as the story goes on. So it just feels kind of out of place, and I don't really understand why it exists. If you don't already own this and you don't own like the trade or whatever, uh, like I don't know that this gets you anything. In fact, having bought it just because my shop man put it in my pull box, I'm kind of left wondering why I paid for it. Like, if I want to read the story, I've got the trade. I bought it a couple years ago. If I want to collect Crisis on Infinite Earths, then I need to go pay, the $100 or whatever for this issue. So this doesn't fulfill really for me like either need. It's not just really for reading, and it's not for collecting, because it's not like a pinnacle, oh, this is the first appearance type stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what happens to Flash here is so iconic that people feel that this really needs to be like its own thing that you can collect independent of the original series. But I feel like it doesn't really get much on that front. All right, I don't even know if I'm making sense at this point. It's a good story. Frankly, I would say go buy the trade of Crisis on Infinite Earths instead of this single issue. You'll like it better because it's the complete story, as opposed to this one weird chapter with some cool art and some cool shenanigans, and lots of little like vignettes, like the Green Lantern Corps, Dark Side, the Atom. Like there's all these little bits through it, which tie into stuff before and stuff after, but don't make a lick of sense in here. The only thing that really makes sense in here on its own is just kind of the Flash's part of the story, which is why he's on the cover. It's absolutely why he's on the cover. You have a great day. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I sure hope to see you again next time. Till then, bye-bye, as they say.